All right, welcome back, everyone. Welcome back, Don.
Welcome, everybody. Hope everybody's had a good summer. Didn't get stung too bad. I know a lot of people watch the chats here, and everybody's suffering from the COVID. If you ever been thinking about getting to be a commercial beekeeper, I think now's the time to really do it. I mean, if you stop and think about it, there's a lot of people that's doing the home thing now, home gardenings, bees, all that stuff. So you shouldn't have any problem selling bees. I don't think it's a better time. And right now, from what I'm seeing and what I'm reading, Louisiana lost a lot of ground as far as bees. Texas and the East Coast. I mean, if you're thinking about selling bees, not on a full-time schedule or full-time doing it, as part-time, you could supplement your income tremendously. I've had students here that have the hourly mentality. I had a lady, I've got 2 or 3 men students. We done some splits 3-4 weeks ago. And before lunch, we made 20 splits. And the one girl, she's from South Georgia, just getting started in bees. She says, I make $11 an hour. And you're trying to tell me we just made $2,000 before lunch? That's unreal. And it's not really that hard of work to make splits. And if you don't want to lift heavy boxes, do the mini nukes. That's one thing that people always need is queens. We're getting an amount of calls you wouldn't believe about queens. We can't keep up. I have to buy a lot of bees a lot of times from students just to maintain orders that we get on a yearly basis. And we're actually looking for help all the time. I think tonight, this is a really good opportunity for somebody who wants to come in, learn commercial beekeeping, get a little percentage of the bees that we sell. I'm even open for work a while. Show me what you can do. I'll pay you. You tell me what you're worth. I'll watch you work. If you're worth it, I pay it. I'm open for a partnership even. I'm getting so old, it's hard for me to walk around anymore. And, right now, I mean, opportunity is knocking. And even if you come up, take a couple dozen classes, turn right around, say, you've learned my methods. People want to learn the methods that I'm teaching. And even if you're teaching very basic beekeeping, basic beekeeping, this is a deep box, this is a medium, this is a 5-frame nuke, and this is a mini nuke. This is used for this, and this is used for that. Show them how to hold a hand tool, or your hive tool, how to light a smoker. Things that I take for granted, I run across all the time. People don't even know how to light a smoker. Do classes, do them 5 people at a time, 10 people at a time. If you're afraid to talk to people, do one-on-one. It's like talking to your friend. Get yourself accustomed to talking to people, because if people walk up and want to buy queens from you, you're going to do is hold a sign up or learn sign language. You got to have communication with your customers. And, people, I get questions sent to me from emails all the time. And right now I'm getting at least 5 or 6 about, Don, is time right now? Can we put pollen patties in? Absolutely not. Look at the front of your hive. You see pollen coming in? That's all you need. You put a pollen patty on that hive right now with these temperatures and this humidity, I guarantee you in a week to 10 days, that hive will be slimed out and full of beetles. It's like driving down the street with your windows down. You don't have to see it. You smell someone barbecuing. That's just like these beetles. They're in the air. They smell that patty out there and you got them. And, we're constantly evolving in the beekeeping. I've actually learned stuff from one of my students, Ken. He's working a lot of our hives out here. When he first comes, Ken doesn't have 1 year yet, and he's running in a commercial yard and keeping up with Stephen and me. Of course, I sit down a lot, so anybody can keep up to me. But, you're going to have to learn to work faster and more efficiently. And he made the remark that telescoping lids, they're great, but the lids with no bands on them at all, just a flat cover. you're in and you're out, and you save at least 10 seconds trying to pry that lid open. So, I took note of that. So I'm changing my bee yard. I'm pulling all my telescoping lids out. They look great. They're secure. They cost too much time. And I know a lot of people will watch this video and say, that old man's crazy. I can get in and out of my hive and nothing flat. But you take 10 hives versus 100 hives or 200 hives, that extra 5 minutes or even 3 minutes, it slows you down through the day. So, a lot of times people come here to learn commercial beekeeping, and I'm teaching them the basic things, how to show them save time here, save time there. And it's the people that come, it's hard to convince them it's not hourly rate. It's what you make in the day. Anybody that's been in bees for a year, 2 years, I'm sure they could make 10 splits a day themselves with no help. 10 splits over winter nukes, I'm getting $200 a piece for them, and no problem. You can't make $2,000 a week every week all summer and tell me you're not making money, then I'm going to retire for sure. I mean, it's common sense stuff that people don't want to give it a thought to. And another thing too is, if you're going to stay in this and this is going to be your business, I took advice from an old man a long time ago about trademarking. I said, who is going to copy my name, Fat Bee Man? And he laughed at me. He says, I'm going to pay for it so that it's trademarked. People don't know it, that my name is trademarked. If I see someone advertising, and using my personality or my intellectual properties, they could be sued. It ain't worth the chance. So my advice right now is try to protect what you got. I made the mistake of not trademarking when I started designing feeders. I was one of the first ones out that had a hive top feeder that didn't drown bees. And I redesigned the original one at least 10 different times. And I did a video on that, showed the progression of all the different hive top feeders I made. I have learned the hard way, believe me. I made more mistakes than I could teach you not to make. And I'm just here not to tell you I'm the greatest beekeeper. I'm probably the worst beekeeper. I make more mistakes than anybody else, but learn from your mistakes. Mistakes cost money. And if you're below the Mason-Dixon line, you don't have that big a problem. But I grew up north of that, up in Ohio. You make a mistake, it costs you 12 months because you got to wait till next year to change your mistake, try to correct the problem. Those are just the little things that I'm trying to get across to people here. I want my students to represent me. And it's not the amount of money that I'm charging for classes. My satisfaction is look down the road and I see my students that are successful. And I have them from probably 10 different states. They wouldn't be where they was at right now because I have a man that just left a week or two ago, Daryl from Somalia. And that man was grateful. I mean, I give him all the tools, the knowledge to set his own business up back home. And he told me, he said, I checked the internet and I searched it good. This man speaks 7 languages, very fluent, very smart. He said, there's nobody out there that's teaching commercial beekeeping. So that's something you might want to think about. Who's passing the torch? My sons won't do it. He don't have the patience. He don't want to teach people nothing. He said, I don't have time for that stuff. And that's the attitude that most people, I've probably known in the last 10 years, 10, 15 really good beekeepers that have died. They're just like me. My time is limited. And I've gotten to where in the last 2 months, I've turned down 6 people already that's called me up that want to take classes. And I interview them on Zoom. And one woman, I said, you need to go to a bee club, learn that stuff first. Basically, I could tell, I had a gut feeling, this woman is not used to work. She probably had a $200 manicure. Her face had more makeup on it than a clown. Another guy called me up and he said he was an experienced beekeeper. He looked like he was powdered up white. He'd never been out in the sun. And when you're doing bees, believe me, you get dark, you're going to get a burn, you know. So that's just a few things. I know it's been a long summer, and I know everybody's got questions, and everybody wants to stump me, and I'm here to help. So don't get me wrong. Don't, and no matter how bad you think the question is or how stupid you might think it has to help you. It's going to help somebody else. So who wants to get up and start the thing going here?
Looks like Nancy was fixing her hair for you, Don, so we're gonna put her on first. Go ahead, Nancy. Unmute. There you go.
Okay. Oh, enter my screen.
Yep, you're good.
You're good.
Hi, Don.
Hey.
Hey. Oh, we've been so busy. I took your advice. We hired some people. We got our bee yard going for our observatory bee yard, and we had several groups come to the bee yard. It's less than 20 boxes, and we just had so much fun. And then the one group from Sioux Falls, they invited us up for me to speak at their bee club. So I did my first speaking, and they even taped it, and it's going to be on YouTube. And I'm so scared to watch it, but
Well,
they.
my knees was knocking when I did the first college, believe me. And I told the guy that invited me up there to speak at a college, I says, I'm coming up to a college. I got a 7th grade education. These people are in college. They're smarter than me. He said, not really. He says, they're here to learn. He said, you know more, probably forgot more than what they're going to learn. He said, but don't worry about it. I'm the type of person try to teach beekeeping without the fancy words. It's just box, put the bees in it, and keep them happy. You don't have to know all them fancy words that professors know.
Oh, yeah, I stumbled, and I'm sure they knew I was nervous. But it was a small group, and me and Dave decided to join their group. So we'll see him again every month now. And yeah, and one of them did buy our nuke, and he did referrals. So he sold even more nukes. And we sold all the way up until the end of May.
Mhm.
And I was instructed by our manager. We put somebody as a manager, not me and Dave, but we have somebody running our bee yard for us that knows what he's really doing. And so he instructed me, couldn't sell no more bees.
Did they pay you very well at the bee club?
Actually, since it was my very first time, I did it on my own as volunteer. And then when I got out there, I got a gift card, and then another lady sent me a thank you card with $20 in it. And I mean, it was just nice that I got invited. I felt honored.
Well, it's good to get your feet wet, but think ahead. You know, you're going to get more offers. Don't be doing presentations for nothing. Education is it's costly. It costs you. I mean, and to pass things on. You know, I've learned things. I learned that you should get a percentage of the door. If it's a big bee club and they're selling products there, you should get a percentage of it.
Yeah, this was just a small bee club.
I know, but you got to think ahead.
Okay.
One person tells another, you know, and
Yeah,
have you a fixed thing. You're not working for nothing, you know.
I know.
You
And
know?
then I got a really good surprise. We got the contract through Baumgart's. It's a farm hardware store,
Mhm.
and they're in 8 states. They have 108 stores, and they're selling our 3-pound packages.
Are you going to produce enough of them?
It depends. The last supplier they had, the highest amount they had was 300 packages. And they had half the stores at that time. Now, that was through Kelly Bee Supply in
Mhm.
Kentucky. And then they didn't sell no bees last year. And then, so nobody got bees in the spring. And then we came on board, and I don't know how many we'll get. I'll find out in November. So
One thing to do is don't overbook. You know, a lot of people, they'll start to overbook. And you don't want to get your name out there as you'll take their money, hold it, and then at the last minute make an excuse why they can't get the bees.
yeah, Baumgart's actually does all the advertising and they take all the money. They take the orders.
Mhm.
So, and then we don't have, it's kind of nice because then we don't have to buy permits to sell in all these different states. So they're in Iowa, Nebraska, Minnesota, South Dakota, Colorado, Wyoming, Idaho, and Kansas.
Well, you know, it's not just a sales pitch that I'm trying to tell people tonight, but look at the news. Louisiana is a big producer of bees. They are flooded. And East Coast, which all the way up the East Coast in the Carolinas, there's producers over there selling bees. A lot of them lost bees, and the water is just crazy this year. And out west, from Arizona west, I mean, most of that stuff out there is burning up. I haven't even set prices for next year, and I'm trying to wait and see what the things are going to be and how things are going to be. But I believe there's really going to be a scarcity of bees.
I think so too, because I've already had several orders already just for nukes
Yeah.
from
Well,
southern Iowa and Kansas, the state of Kansas.
Nukes, you can cook those a little bit more reliably than you can packages, because packages is up in the air right now.
Yeah.
I'm glad you're doing good.
It's very fast. I mean, this is a lot faster than me and Dave thought it would go. I mean, we were just going to kind of do it as a hobby when we retire, and we weren't planning on retiring for another 15 years. So this is just really quick for us. I mean, it just went bang, 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 and then we got that contract, and our heads are spinning.
Well, you know, I try to tell students 2 to 3 years, you'll be pretty good. But I don't want to brag on myself, but if you have two people out there that's selling bees and one states that you got my bees, why is people drift that way? You see where I have people come to my bee yard. We had a couple that's taking classes, and they got a little 5-year-old girl. I scooped a handful of bees up and laid it in her hand. It's not smoke and mirrors. It's not staged. When people see that and make comments, well, they can't even work their bees with a bee suit. That's your selling point.
Yeah.
That's your advertisement, just being affiliated with on the Fat Bee Man and being a student.
Yeah, we got our videos on, and I got a video of just me taking the bees out the frame and then shaking them, and several other ones and pictures of the queen and some other stuff. So
that's great.
Yep. So thank you so much, Dawn. We're having so much fun doing this.
Well, remember me when you get rich.
Well, I would just love to get out of the truck and just do this full time with Dave, because I'm not with Dave Monday through Friday. You know, I'm out on the road, and yeah, we're really enjoying it.
Well, we
We're enjoying each
have
other.
we have a state trooper. Well, we got 3 or 4 people from law enforcement, but he just started about 3 months ago. And he said he's just tired of the situation. He wants to get out of that car. And he said he just too much pressure, you know. It's like sitting in a boiler all day.
Yeah.
I can see where, you know, people want to get away from all that stress.
Yeah, it is stressful out there.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So thank you very much.
You're welcome.
I'm
Alrighty.
done.
All right, thanks, Nancy. And over to Melissa. Go ahead, Melissa.
Hey, everybody. Every week I say I'm going to look pretty for the chat, and every week I'm like, oh my gosh, it's time for the chat. So I ran out of the wood shop and came home and started fixing dinner. I was listening to some of your old chats, Don, and a couple years ago you were talking about a co-op, and then I didn't hear anymore. Did that not work out, or?
Well, it goes back to the individual beekeepers. How many times can you get 10 beekeepers together that want to share profit? They just don't want to cooperate. It goes back to the good old boy system. I know some little secret that you don't know, and it's just hurting us is all it's doing. If the beekeepers would band together, they could, well, there's 5 or 6 in South Georgia. They have banded together, big producers. They set the prices for the bees. If I could produce, I would be grateful if I could set up 1,000 to 2,000 more hives. My biggest holdback is help. I'm advertising on a lot of different pages. I get people that talk a good story, and the minute you talk to them a little bit, you can see right through it. To work a commercial bee yard is one thing. To work for a commercial producer is one thing. Just because you got in his truck and rode out to the almonds and helped set boxes off doesn't make you a commercial beekeeper. Most people don't know how to set up a bee yard and run a management thing. Sure, they can graft, but you have to graft 1,500 to 2,000 queen cells a day if you want to make money. That's the whole thing. If somebody walked in my door right now and tell me they can do everything I can do, I say, how much do you want? If they want $75, they're worth it. If they wanted $100 an hour, they're worth it. Because if they know what they're doing, they can sit there and do $10,000 in grafts a day. Really. We had a Russian woman about 10 years ago. And when you watched her graft, her finger looked like a sewing machine. She got $350 a day. But she turned out 10,000 cells on a regular basis, probably with a 95, 98%, take in it. That's the thing. Once you get to a certain point in commercial, people are jealous of your success. People hate me because other people watch me and people are doing things that I say you don't have to spend money on. I'm trying to teach you shortcuts on time and save money. That's all I'm trying to do. My days of fame is 40, 50 years ago. I don't even want a trophy for going to a bee club and showing up.
Well, we all know how famous you are, Don.
We're not famous.
You are.
Oh,
You have a huge following.
in your mind, believe me.
Okay, well, I guess I'm trying to blow up your head a little bit. I've been taking your advice. I've been taking my resource hives down and making splits into single boxes for the transport, getting ready to set up our new location in Georgia. And I'll be doing another delivery route again next year for anybody who wants to get orders in. And I really agree with what you said earlier about the nukes are a way better way to go, especially for new beekeepers. To get an already established hive is so much easier and less intimidating than having to install a package for the first time.
Another thing you can do, you notice I sit here, I see that, got my new hat. You notice I get hats, I get shirts. Everybody sends me these things. I wear them on the internet when I do chats. No one sends me socks, underwear. Hey, wake up, everybody.
Because we don't want to see that.
I'm tired of going around naked. But, it's a thing to think about. Yeah, some people buy business cards, and as soon as you hand it to someone, when you're out of sight, they pitch it. There was a man that brought his business cards to me a couple of years ago. They look like poker chips, and it had a key fob on it. So you can put your keys and stuff on it. It's something that has all his information on it. It's something you're going to keep. A business card, they throw away. Hats. I wear shirts when I go to the restaurant, and people see it on my back, and they'll walk up. I hadn't considered signs in my truck, but I think I might put some signs on it, basically to let people know I'm still keeping. Ken's got signs on his, and he's not done 1 year yet, and he's already selling bees, nukes, and queens. So, he's a fast learner.
That's fantastic. I was wondering from Nancy, how is she affording to hire help with 20 hives, and how is she going to sell or fulfill 300 package orders next year?
You want to answer that, Nancy? Go ahead, unmute. There you go. No, wait, no, not yet. Try again. There you go.
Hi, Melissa. Well, the money is not an issue to us, so that's no big deal. We hired, so we were able to.
I'd love to have that problem.
Huh?
I said I'd love to have that problem where money's not an issue.
And well, me and Dave, we live very simple. So, and we don't spend a whole lot of money. We never have. We're old. We're actually retired. I'm a retired nurse. Dave's retired conservationist. So, I might not look that old, but I'm almost heading to retirement. But we hired help. I even hired. It was actually cheaper to hire than it was for me to take off work, because I made more working at driving a truck than it was to pay somebody to mow or do the buckets and all that stuff. So.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Anything else, Melissa?
That's it for now. I'll raise my hand again if I got anything else. Thanks.
All right, nobody else got their hands up. Everybody's being shy again for the first time back in 2 months.
Nobody got nothing to say.
Let's see, who do you want to pick on, Don?
Let Tom, Ken, he's waving his arms. He's got something to tell you.
Go ahead, Ken.
Just talking about the classes, but by the way, hey everybody, good to see y'all again. Just talking about the classes. I just want to reiterate something that Don taught me. Make sure that everybody understands that the price for the classes is per person, which means that they bring 4 children with them. Oh, they're just going to watch. No. Hives, they're going to start playing with things that are not toys. They're going to get stung, and then people are going to get upset with you, even though they brought young ones to a live bee yard. So just make sure whenever you're offering classes to people, they understand that it is per person when you're doing the class, unless you don't want to do it. And also, I don't like trading free, but everybody either has a skill or a service that you need. Classes are a good way to go about it. I have some people that were painters that wanted to get into beekeeping. 5-gallon buckets of paint for some bees. And I said, well, honestly, I put too much into the bees not to get something out of it. But if you want, we can do something on class. And we can do that. So it really is a good bartering tool to have, just like having bottles of honey in the truck. But Don, I do like the new hat, by the way.
You like that new hat?
But that's all.
I'm waiting now for one of those big T-shirts.
Oh, you want one of the T-shirts? I'll get one with your name on it.
All right.
But yeah, and also like he says with the shirts, I mean, I wear these everywhere. It's got my classes, my email on it. It's, you know, I can't tell you how many people just, hey, do you have some honey? Yeah, I have some honey. Do you have bees? Yeah, that's why I have the shirt. But anyway, that's all. Thanks, guys.
All right, thank you. And back to Nancy. Go ahead, Nancy.
Oh, okay. I didn't answer all Melissa's her other question about my observation hive that is in Yankton. It's 5 acres, and I designated that for people to come and visit and watch me work with the bees. And that is for people that have never had bees, don't know nothing about the bees, and it's set up to be like a normal person's apiary. It's really nice. I got flowers, trees. I got benches for them to sit on. I offer drinks, and we just enjoy the day with them, and they can stay as long as they want. And that's the observation yard, and that's completely different from our bee yard. We got 2. We have one in Nebraska and one in Iowa, and it's just like right across the river. So it's like having one big one, but there's the Missouri rivers breaks them up. So we do have 2 separate yards besides the one in Yankton. And let's see. I think that was it. I think, I don't know.
What kind of drinks you serving, Nancy? Maybe I'll come over and sit in the bee observation yard.
Well, up here, everybody likes water or sweet tea or stuff like that.
Keep trying. You'll get around to something I like.
Yeah. Well, there's kids too. I was really surprised. We had a mother with 2 children, and the kids were just loving it, and it was just a lot of fun. It was nice to invite people over.
That's cool.
There is nothing like that around here.
Mhm.
So, yeah,
have a-
we had them come from, one was like 3-hour drive.
Nice.
So,
Nice.
yeah, yeah.
And do you charge for that then, or? Oh, you should charge something.
No. In fact, they'll be, one actually took a new home with them.
Okay. All right, that's good.
Yeah.
Probably get some good honey sales out of it though, don't you?
No, I'm not selling the honey yet.
Oh, you got to get some honey to sell. You got to make some
No,
money back.
I have to keep it for the splits.
Hmm.
So, yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Don, who are we picking on next?
Brett's going to tell us how he's doing since he took classes and took a grafting class. And sounds like he's doing pretty good up there, but he don't brag on himself much.
No, I don't brag enough. How's it going, everybody? Yeah, we're doing well. We're selling queens like crazy right now. I'm going to actually have to cut it off soon. I actually
Problem in
did.
getting customers?
What's that?
Any problem in getting customers, or they just seem to be flocking to you?
They're coming. They're coming. A lot of honey. People want honey, so we started doing honey. I just did a class, actually a talk at a library, brought an observation hive. It was really nice. It was pretty much inner city kids, and I was pleasantly surprised how much they knew about bees.
Boy, yeah, kids are smart nowadays.
Yeah, I mean, they knew more than I knew. I thought at times they were telling me things. But it was nice, and yeah, we're doing really well. We're planning on coming down and picking up a whole bunch of packages and bringing them back.
The last time you come down, didn't you say you had most of them sold before you got home?
Yeah, the 25 I sold 24 of them.
Well, see, you need to order more bees than you need. That way
That's right.
you can't sell from an empty shelf.
No, you can't. But I did make 30 splits off that one package, so.
Well, see, 30 splits off of one package. Now,
Yep.
see, I preach that all the time. If people listen, you can make the splits. I mean, there's no reason you can't.
And only one died over the winter.
That's good odds.
That's really good.
Yeah.
And that was my fault. I left the lid off a little bit and it rained on them in the middle of the winter.
Yeah. What are you treating with up there?
Oxalic acid.
Yeah. Are you vaporizing, or are you dribbling, or how are you applying it?
Vaporizing.
Vaporizing.
Yeah, right now I'm doing every 5 days for like 4 weeks.
Yeah.
Just get those mites down.
Here that we done, we got a pump up sprayer, and we did the oxalic acid in there. I don't know if anybody's got that many hives, but we treated out between Friday and today, we've probably done 150, I think. And it takes about a minute or a minute and a half, because Stephen and Ken was going through the hive. Right now, we're checking, make sure the queen's there. And as soon as we see eggs, we close it up and we take that sprayer and we spray them. It's a drench method. I mean, it's quick. I don't know if anybody's interested in it, but Randy Oliver's got stuff on that on his website, but a lot of it's in metrics and grams, and I'm the old school, I'm in ounces. So we've calculated it out so that we're doing about 8 ounces of oxalic acid, put it in a quart jar, warm water, and shake the heck out of it until it's clear. And then you put that in a 3-gallon pump up sprayer. And if you don't have a new sprayer, buy a new sprayer. Don't use a sprayer that had anything else in it. And get a marker and mark the side of it so you know it's just for bees. It's another way to treat bees, a lot of hives, pretty quick. Now, we're going to go back next week and then the following week, and we're going to hit them again. So That should take care of it. But we run 500 hives on 1 yard. We could go in there in a half an hour or maybe an hour and a half, and we could hit all them hives. Once you know the queen's there, all you do is lift the lid up, give them a good spread, and move on to the next one.
Do you just spray between the frames, or do you spray the whole thing?
Got it sprayed to where it's not a light mist in between, but it's not quite extreme. And I try to hit at least 2 or 3 the center between the frames. And then when you spray the top, it should look like raindrops all over it.
Okay,
Don't soak them down, just put enough on there, you see it.
cool.
Everybody won't want that method. I mean, you could basically never treat if you split hives enough by breaking the mite cycle. You can do it in mineral oil. You can do it a lot of ways, but once you get to where you're making a living at it, your losses have to stay 1 to 3%. When they start getting over that, that gets into your pocket. So you got to do what you have to do to keep bees alive.
Nice. Thank you.
Okay.
Don, how often are you doing that treatment?
The spraying, we'll do it every 7 days for 3 treatments.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so it's similar to the vaporizing then.
Yeah.
Okay.
But if someone's been doing the vaporizer, I probably wouldn't have to do it for probably every 60 days, just as an in case.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the thing about that is what we mixed up, we could probably do 400 hives. We had bought Apivar 4 years ago. That's at $180, $190 bulk pack. When you go 50, 100 bulk packs, it gets into it. And
Right.
1 yard, we done nothing but the Apivar, and we had pretty high losses in that 1 yard. I don't know if they was bad, but another thing on the Apivar, most people don't know, it's the material is called impregnated material. So they don't want you to know it, but I talked to representatives of the Bayer company and stuff like that. They said if you have a good sharp hive tool, and when you pull them out every 10 to 14 days, scrape them. When you see the powder come off, they're reactivated. So you can scrape those things for 3 or 4 years. But if you're going to reuse them several times, keep them out of the sun, because it contains powdered Amitrex.
Okay.
And once they get wet, they're no good either.
No, if they get wet, they're waterproof basically.
I was told that it changes the chemical structure.
Who told you that? The bee supplier?
No. A beekeeper.
A beekeeper. There's a lot of information out there. It's like lawyers. You get at the bus stop and there's a lawyer there to give you all kind of information. But then when you go to a real lawyer, he charges you. You pay for something that's worth it.
Yep.
I still got some packets that I bought 20 years ago. Checkmate. It's been outlawed because it's so potent. There's a lot of things the industry doesn't want you to know. I mean, I get hate mail because I'll probably get someone when people find out that I'm doing this, telling you about the pump up sprayer. I mean, you treating a hive for 2 or 3 cents. They want to sell you bees. They're not interested in you keeping bees. It's like when I talked about Crisco and Diamatrix Earth, mix them together, put them on the bottom of your hive your bottom board, knocks the mites down and kills them. Oh, that didn't go over good. People didn't like that. But the people that listened and tried it, I get emails saying, that really works. Look at Ken, he's shaking his head. He's seen it work. When you go through my bee yard in the trees and you see 1 or 2 beetles, when you see 3 or 4, that's really high at my yard. Everybody has beetles. Learn to manage this stuff. Another thing you can do is, we used to do it years ago, buy bulk packets of Fipronil. It's roach bait, but now it's more convenient. You can buy Max Force, or there's another one out there, and you can buy a bag of them, 72 to a bag, and they're like $48, $50, something like that. We went around and put those in hives. It's up under the pine trees. You have one person give the smoke a little bit, lift the hive up, you reach in and pop it in. You can ask Ken, he helped do it. We done about 100 of them in about an hour and a half. So there is a lot of little ways to do things if you're open-minded, you know, and the naysayers, you know, it's like master beekeepers come to me buying bees and I question, are you a master beekeeper buying bees? You should be making your bees. I'm not putting anybody down if they want to get that education, but you can shove that diploma in that entrance and them beetles are going to still kill your bees and everything else.
All right, looks like Christine has a question. Go ahead, Christine.
Oh, sorry. I'm sorry. That was funny.
With the fat bee man, he's just outspoken.
And so am I, Dawn. So am I. Two things, and I know you're only supposed to ask one at a time, so I'll be super quick. One thing is I built a yellow jacket trap for the first time off of one of your videos from like 7 years ago or something with the 2-liter bottle.
Mhm.
Anyway, and I caught me a yellow jacket within like 8 minutes. So I'm super excited about that because they're wandering around the beehives. Secondly, for the first time ever, I'm going to have to feed my bees, I think, through the winter. I'm up here in Northern California on the coast. And usually I leave a full, I run 8-frame hives. And usually I leave one full medium super of capped honey for the bees. I don't touch it. I leave it there for them.
Why do you do that?
Because I'm assuming that they're going to need it, but they never usually use it all.
Never assume nothing.
Okay.
That is basically what I consider hearsay. My students will testify to what I'm telling you. You're better off to pull that super, put feed on them. If they want it, they'll take it. And by putting feed on there, they're going to start laying good. And the bees that you're looking at right now, they're going to be dead by December. In January, they're going to be dead. So you got to get that queen stimulated to making a lot of brood. You do yourself more harm. What is the harm? You got the super, either jar it up, put it in the freezer. You can always, as a last result, feed it back. That's what I do. If I sell honey, it's because it's in the way. I sell it in 5-gallon buckets and barrels. And I'm not giving it away. When I put a bucket on Facebook for $500, I get a lot of poo-poo, you ain't going to get it. But usually within 3 hours, I've sold what I have, whatever and advertise it.
That's awesome.
$10 an ounce or more.
So this year, I don't have any extra honey at all. I'm going to have to feed bees when normally I would be leaving that super on just because I thought that was a cautious, good thing to do, and I would take everything else. And this year I don't have my boxes don't have any extra honey at all. And I don't know if it's because we're in even a bigger drought than we normally are, even though most of our feed sources seem to have been the same. Like most of ours is from the blackberries and the Himalaya berries and, clover. And I'm next to a dairy that runs clover fields and stuff like that. And quinoa. And I don't even know if quinoa is a good producer for nectar or pollen. But anyway, there's plenty of pollen going in. But the bees don't have honey stores this year. And I just was wanting to know your thoughts on that.
If they don't have honey stores, of course, I don't know your situation where you're at. All I see is what's on the news. So much of California is burned up. There's not much green left. So you might think about planting something like goldenrod, clover. There's a lot. You can get a list of seeds to plant that'll do it. But I would put the feed to them. And if they're not using that super, I would definitely pull it off and put them in a single.
Yeah, there's no super to leave this year.
If the super is on the hive and it's empty, remove it.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Because if you got extra room, you're going to end up getting beetles. There's only so much real estate that the bees can cover and keep it clean.
Yes, sir. Heard that before from you before, and I took that to heart.
What brand soda did you put in there?
It actually was Dr. Pepper.
I'll tell you, I didn't want to get sued, but if you put A&W root beer in there, if you look at the video that I done, I put A&W in there, and within 2 hours, I had 1.5 inches of Yellow Jackets. But I've tried Coke, I've tried Crush, there was about 8 different drinks that I tried. The A&W worked the best. Best thing to do is take the cap off and leave it get flat, and then put it out the next day.
Okay.
That seemed to work the best.
A piece of pastrami and some Dr. Pepper.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, Yellow Jackets are go. I've had people say put a Coke in there with a little bit of a hot dog.
Oh yeah, they'll chase anything down. Thank you, Don.
I'm glad things are working for you. It means the people are watching my videos. If you watch my videos, click on there, you like it, and subscribe to the channel. I'm
yeah.
almost at the point where they're going to start paying me a little bonus if I get more subscribers. I don't want to have to stand in the corner now. I'd look bad with a cup and black glasses.
I would have thought they'd already been paying you as many times as I've watched them.
Well, people think you get rich, but it's like when you first start, it's 1/4 cent per click if they watch the advertisement they put on. But, you got to have a lot of subscribers to really make more.
I'll do that. Thank you, Don.
You're welcome.
Okay, over to Ken. Go ahead, Ken.
I just wanted to say, talking about selling honey and people telling you can't do that. I had buy new a couple of weeks ago, and he said, "So what do you do for a living?" And I said, "I sell bees." He said, "Really? How long do you have to stay at the farmer's market to get a reasonable amount of honey sold?" I said, "I don't really. I mean, I sell honey, but because I have it, but I sell bees." He goes, "Well, I've been a beekeeper for about 10 years, and you can't really make a living doing that. There's no real money in it." And I said, "You know what? You're right. That'll be $175. So don't let somebody else tell you that it's not worth doing, or whatever your avenue in beekeeping that you got money coming in at." Greg's bucket feeders that work awesome. If you're good at building equipment, I'm not there yet, but if you have a knack for it, you can build equipment. I mean, Data and everyone else is raising their prices because of the price of lumber. So find your niche. Don't let anybody take the wind out of your sails. That was all I wanted to say.
Okay, thank you. And over to Patricia. Go ahead, Pat.
Hi, everybody. It's good to see everybody. I missed y'all. Well, I had a couple of things for Christine. First of all, like Ken just said, don't let anybody tell you what you can't do. I harvest honey twice a year, and I sell bees. If you manage them, you can make money off of them year round. The money is there. And when I first got started, I went and sat in front of Whole Foods. I went to a couple of farmers markets, and that's just not my thing. So if I see somebody in Walmart looking at the honey on the shelf, I stop and tell them that's not real honey, and they follow me home. And now when I get ready to sell my honey, I bottle it up. I post on Facebook, "I'm bottling honey today," and people come down the driveway. So, and I'm in the middle of nowhere down a dirt lane off the road. So, you just have to figure out what you want to do. But one thing that you might want to look up is something, and it's a weird name. It's called Mountain Camp Method of Winter Feeding. And it was designed by some guy, and his CB handle was Mountain Camp. I don't know why, but that's what they named the method after. And it's dry sugar. If they can forage, you can, have some feed out for them. But if it's too cold, they can use that dry sugar very quickly. And so that's a real good method to get through the winter with. But yeah, just make your plan up as to what you're going to do and how you're going to sell your product. And don't let anybody tell you can't, because I have heard it all. And I've been called up and told that my reports aren't true, that things didn't really happen that way. But, it does. And if you follow Don's methods, it does work. He called me up and he said, "Well, you need to start making queens." And I said, "Well, I can't see any of the eggs. I don't make queens because I can't see them." And he's got a video out where he takes his thumb and mashes down the row and makes queen cells, and it works. That's how I make my queens. So you know, if you follow his methods and just make your method, your plan, your business plan. And like I said, to begin with, start practicing your speech as to sell yourself, your little sales pitch as to what you do and what you sell. Practice with your family, with your kids, you know, whatever, so that you're comfortable with what you're saying. But for Nancy, don't give away free classes, Nancy. I know you think it's fun, but charge a little bit just because it makes it seem like it has more value if you're paying for it. If you're giving it away, they think, well, I can just go whenever I feel like it and drop by. You want them to make an appointment. You want them to respect your time frame. So charge $10 if nothing else, if you don't want to charge too much. But, you know, you can make money off of every single bit of this. And if you're trying to make your future living off of it, you definitely have to make every possible way you can to make money off of it. Yeah, that's it.
Nancy, you have to add something? Go ahead.
Yeah, well, this is like my first year. And, so yeah, through Baumgart's, I'll be doing classes at the store. And I got an observation hive, and so I'll be doing a lot of that next year. So
Good
I'll
job.
be getting sales. Yeah.
Yeah, good job. It's exciting to watch you
know,
grow
it
so
is.
quick.
I just stumbled right over it on it,
Yeah.
you know, and I just, yeah.
If you figure out what they need, it is so fun that it's not a job. For me, it's never been work. It's hot. You know, it was 110 degrees here one day with the heat factor and everything. And bees, you got to do what you got to do in the bees, but it's not work. It's fun because it's so cool. You do this, you do that, and you have bees or honey. You know, we're getting ready to harvest our cotton honey, and that's my second full honey harvest. So it's just management.
Okay, you scared her away, Pat.
I didn't mean to. Hopefully
main
she'll come
thing
back.
The main thing when you first start out is your time, your energy is worth something. When you drive to a bee club, the gas is not free. Your time is not free. You have to set you a price, what you would charge. I have a price that I know that I'm comfortable with. When bee clubs call you and say, we'll give you $75, I say, I don't crank my truck for $75. Well, so-and-so comes over here and gives a speech every year for that. I says, well, then why are you calling me then? You know, people call you because they want to learn something. Education costs money. And if you start selling yourself too cheap, everybody's going to expect it.
Mm-hmm.
Most bee clubs right now are paying an average speaker anywhere from $300 to $500. I consider small bee clubs, I would speak $350. And most of the small bee clubs, the last ones that I saw, the last two, they take me and my wife out for a steak dinner, and then you speak at their bee club. But, you know, bee clubs, they charge membership to pay for speakers. And the speakers, if they're not selling something, when I speak at a bee club, I talk about education. I'm not there to tell you I sell bees. I won't mention it at a bee club unless you ask me, do you sell bees? I say, yes, I sell bees.
Yes.
But I'm not going to anybody's bee club and step on anybody that is there, a member that is selling me to the club. If they come up and ask me now, that I'm going to tell them, yes, that's what I do. Right? Private classes, you should get $100 minimum for a private class. I mean, see, Brett's already heard me. Yeah. I charge a minimum when I go to someone's yard for a consultation. I do not do nothing. I just say, open the hive, let me look at it, lift the box, do this, do that. I'll make suggestions.
Yep.
That's all you can do. But please charge for what you do.
Yeah.
Where's that cat you didn't see?
We need to hear from Elizabeth. She's been too quiet tonight. Are you listening, Elizabeth?
Yeah, I've just been listening to everybody.
Well, let's hear what you're doing.
Well, I just got a job a couple of weeks ago, so I've been very, very busy with that and not as much with the bees. And then it got really hot here during the days, but autumn is like definitely coming to New Mexico. The nights are getting cool and the sun's not coming up as early, but it was 100 every day this week. So just when we kind of thought, oh, autumn's coming and it's time to slow down with the bees, boom, we get another hot week of 100 degrees in the
Are
day.
you working with a full bee suit in 100 degrees?
No, I tend to only wear a veil.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, I overheat, especially well, anybody east of here tells me I'm crazy because I think it's kind of muggy here in New Mexico. But I used to live in Nevada, and where I was in California was very dry. So I'm used to very, very dry heat. So if it's hot and the humidity's high, I've gotten sick before at the bee yard. And we actually had like a big storm knock over our teaching yard, and I was out there to help pick up the hives, and it wasn't physically demanding, but just the temperature and the weather and the stormy weather, and I fainted. So when it's hot and humid, I don't do well, and so I only wear a veil.
Yeah.
But if it's dry heat, it's not as bad for me.
Well, I had a lot of women tell me that they're in like rural areas. Some just wear that full suit, but they just wear panties and bras under there. But I'll tell you what we do when we're shaking bees, like in the rain. If you're in business and you got orders and it's raining, there's no excuse. You shake bees. So I'm not putting a plug in for you, but I'll tell you what I wear. It's called Carhartt blazer jacket. It's like a silk coat. And Miss Tina put a zipper in it for me, and because it's got snaps on it, and it's got Velcro around the wrist. And you put that on, even if it gets a little bit damp, the bees will not sting. And it's like having a bee suit on or a jacket on that's like silk. You hardly feel it. It's just I'm putting it out there for people that don't want to work their bees without a suit and it's hot, and if it's hot, you got to work the bee suit. I think Ken seen me wear it today. That's the first time I wore it probably in 4 months. But we had a couple of hives in the back. They just seemed like had a mind of their own.
And what do they sell it for? Like they don't advertise it as a bee suit, right?
No, they don't sell it. It's under sportswear. Carhartt, I believe. It's a fancy name. You get it online. I think she said there was $17, $18, but you'll have to buy a zipper for it. I don't like just the snaps. It's got those push snaps on it. And the little Velcro that goes around the sleeves, I mean, it's great. I mean, you got good ventilation under there. It's something to think about, because there's a lot of people when they first start. I know when I first started, I worked up north, and the bees is a little different up there. I had a bee suit, and it was nice to not go home that day and have all them hundreds of stingers in you. My hands today, and Ken was standing there. Let me see what camera. See if you can see it. See my fingers? I probably had 30, 40 stingers in one hand today on one hive. I think we had a hive back there that was queenless, but you kind of back off and you still go back to work. We smoked my hand a little bit and we're back to work. Don't let a few stings run you off. I mean, you're going to get stung. You're a beekeeper. You get used to it. It's like a mosquito after a while. You just brush it off.
Okay, I think Christine has a question again. Go ahead, Christine.
My thoughts were on drones. It seems like I'm been completely without drones now for quite some time, and I wondered how everybody else in the country was doing.
If you stimulate the bees, they will make drones. Now you can buy drone comb put in there, or are you running a plastic or are you running natural comb?
Mostly plastic foundation.
I would just take a frame that has no foundation at all in it, drop it in like the second or third from the sidebar, and put the feed to them. If they want drones, they will make you a whole frame of drones. We put green comb in several of our hives for mating purposes. That's a full frame of nothing but drones.
So when does it start getting cold in the south?
in the south. Where
Well,
I
where you are.
Well, I'm down here. I'm 2.5 hours from my house in Lula. I'm down in my southern yard, and we start grafting in late January, and we'll get our first grafts off first week, second week in February. First bees go out by March 1st. At my house, I have bred or grafted and had mated queens going out March 1st, probably 4 or 5 years ago, but it's not a regular thing. Sometimes we have a really warm winter, you get started early, but you're still going to have drones.
So I'm just curious if you've seen that before, like if the drones disappear early in the fall, does that mean winter's coming early, winter's going to be exceptionally hard?
Not necessarily, not necessarily. I mean, there's nothing in beekeeping that I know of that's rolling stone that repeats itself over and over. Every year it's going to change. But all the hives that we looked at, there's some drones in there, not an abundance of drones. I mean, I wouldn't feel comfortable trying to make queens out of the yards we got now right at this point.
Exactly. Yeah.
Christine, are you in a dearth?
Yeah.
They'll either consume their drones or stop laying for a while there's no food coming in.
Yeah, we must be in a huge dearth because like I said, normally I would be harvesting honey and now I'm trying to figure out the best way to feed. So
How are you feeding?
Pardon?
How are you feeding? You feeding entrance feeders, top hive feeders?
Well, that's just it. I'm actually not feeding except for one nuke that I have, and I've only got like 9 colonies. But
why are you not feeding?
Because normally I've got so much coming in that I don't feel like I need to.
Okay. Now, how far off is January from now? Let's put you on a diet from now to January and see what happens. What's going to happen? A week, 2 weeks, you're going to get a little ornery.
Something that I wish would happen.
Yeah. Well, see, if you feed the hive, you can't expect them. That's one thing people don't understand. I had a guy come bought nukes from me and right away dumped them into a 10-frame hive. And I said, be sure to feed them. Oh, no, you don't have to feed them. Bees will get honey in the woods. I says, don't count on it. See,
I'm just saying, normally I've got, 2 or 3, medium supers full of capped honey, and I would be harvesting it. And now I have like like I've got one colony, I've got, that has maybe 2 frames of honey in it, and that I need to feed.
Yep. Is all the frames got honey on them, or you just got 2 solid frames of honey?
I've got lots of brood.
All right. They're eating it faster than they can produce it.
Which is awesome. Not complaining.
Are you feeding? Are you feeding 1 to 1, 2 to 1, 3 to 1?
I normally, there's this gentleman that I know, kinda, and he says mix it till it's as thick as the peach syrup that you get in a can.
Yeah, he must have.
That's what I do. And that's what I do. So it's kind of like 2 to 1.
If you do that, you're going to put some meat on the bones. So you're going to get a hive that's going to start to produce.
That's what I'm like I said, I'm going to have to start putting the feed on all of them. And like I said, normally this wouldn't be the case, but I just thought if you guys had thoughts on that, but I'm thinking it's got to be the drought. It's got to be a dearth. I'm 100 miles away from any wildland fire, which we are surrounded, but it's 100 miles away. So I don't know.
Are you putting water out too for the bees?
They have tons of water and they're not touching my hummingbird feeders. They're, but like I said, I can tell they need to be fed.
I would put feed on them.
I'm going to.
Definitely.
And also I'm also worried about yellow jackets and wasps. So I'm thinking the inside in-hive feeders.
Consider the bucket feeders. I mean, there's a lot of options to feed. You have to figure out what's going to work the best for you.
Well, we watched a YouTube video today from the same gentleman that I know, the fact with the open feeding system of the trough with the soaker hose. And do you think this would be a bad time of year to do that?
If you're in a dearth, you're going to feed 80% or 90% of that to the wasp, yellow jackets. You need direct feeding.
Okay.
then
In hive feeders then, eh?
I would put a bucket on them or inside feeders, hive top feeders. I would kind of stay away from entrance feeders
Yeah.
because they lose vacuum and then you have a mess.
I don't like entrance feeders because I'm always afraid of robbing.
Well, if you put a feed line out with a dearth on like that, you're going to cause robbing.
Okay, so that's my question. Inside feeders. Okay, thank you.
I think Greg wants to add something to that, Christine. So hold on a second. Go ahead, Greg.
Hey guys, it's been a little while since been on here, but Christine, something you might think about, Don and everybody else who's running quite a few hives could probably attest to it. A lot of us will have big IBC totes or bulk feed somewhere near the bee yard. And at least for us, that's a pretty good way to find out what is or isn't going on, because as soon as you start seeing clouds of bees hitting just anything, anywhere where feed is seeping, usually it's a pretty good indicator to go check and make sure the colonies have feed on top of there. Like Don, we mix up, or we don't mix it. It's just we use straight Pro Sweet, which is about it's a little heavier than fructose 55. It's about 11.8 pounds per gallon. It's more like that's probably close to a 3-to-1. But anyways, like Don said, if you can get feed on those colonies and keep it on there, bucket feeders are great because it's putting the feed inside of the hive without actually having the volume of the feed open inside of the hive. And as they need it, they can come right up to your top lid and start pulling the feed right out of those plugs. And the great thing about the plugs is whether you want to feed a 1-frame split, a mini mating nuke, or a double deep 10-frame colony, for whatever reason, you can adjust the size of your holes and how many holes you're using in those plugs. And you can really tailor down and make sure whatever colony size it is getting the right amount of feed. And I think that really, really helps. So if you haven't already looked at using bucket feeders, you can build them for really cheap. The great thing about bucket feeders is they've got this really high-tech, really handy feature to them. They've got an on-off switch. And a lot of guys, I know Ken's using them now too. Even through December, we're first of all, we're here in Ohio. So what we do here is, probably maybe a little different than everybody else, but we can put heavy liquid feed on all year round, especially here in Ohio, December and January, when nights are down to 20 degrees and the days pop up and they're 50, 55, and you see the bees start to go in and out, and they're doing cleansing flights and they're foraging and they're looking for whatever they can. Those buckets are great because you can turn the bucket into that feeding position and they can go hit that feed from underneath. As the day goes on and the sun starts to go down, it starts to cool off and they go back into cluster. You can take that bucket and just flip it upside down so it's not dispersing any feed, and they're good to go. What we've noticed here in Ohio with the weather being as squirrely as it is, you can really overwinter colonies, some really small size colonies, if you give them those extra feeding opportunities, which is really handy if you're trying to grow a bee yard, if you're trying to sell overwintered stock. And it's a really good, helpful, thing to look at. Those bucket feeders are extremely handy. They're cheap. You can DIY them. You can build them yourself. And just a lot of folks are using. You can use 1-gallon pails, 2-gallon pails. There's so many different ways to do it. There's always more than one way to pluck the chicken. It's just a matter on how you're fixing to eat it. Depends. That dictates how you go about that. But you can, if you want more information on that, you can shoot us a message. You can find us on Facebook. We've got a video on that, on how to build those for nothing on our YouTube channel at Nature's Image Farm. You can go to our website at nature'simagefarm.com. You can order the plugs. You can see exactly how we do it. It's a really, really super effective tool. And I guess before I'll blab on all day long about those things, but I wanted to just circle back on something we we're talking about earlier. And I think it's been, I don't even know how many years it's been now, Don, but one of the first things I learned from Don that really set us on a path to be successful moving forward is, I think a lot of folks who are just getting started, or they're trying to, flesh this thing out, if this is going to work for them as far as trying to make a little bit of income working with bees, everyone starts to go different directions. They think they need this particular piece of equipment, this kind of a bee, this piece of information, this many years of experience. and one thing that hit me early on with Don that I really have taken to heart, and you've heard Don say it over and over and over again. I'm sure Ken's heard it too. But you know, there's three people that's going to run you out of business before you ever get started, and that's wouldn't, couldn't, and can't. And that's on you, you know, for all of us. You know, once you get past that and realize, you know, there are more opportunities out there than you can really even think about, you know, jumping on. But so don't get hung up on all the small little details of this or that. A lot of these things you just kind of have to figure out, and it's all so different. What Don does in Georgia might be a hair different from what I do in Ohio, what you do in California, what E does over in New York. But there's little tidbits throughout all that, the common sense beekeeping that you can apply to all those things. And then you just kind of figure out your scale and your context, how to adapt that to your plan. And then you really can be successful. This has been a heck of a year for opportunities for, I think, a lot of folks, at least in the Midwest. Mites are at all-time lows. Very little treatments are going on where, you know, most of our colonies are on a mite wash or 0 to 2% at the very most. We haven't had to touch them all year until recently. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at is if you do a couple of the things, if you learn a couple of those basic common sense things, when you get to a point to where when mites are low and you've done everything else right, it can really set you up to catapult the bee yard, your stock, and give you a lot of opportunities, you know, moving forward. So, you know, I always like to thank Don for all his help, learning hands-on from Don and Steven, Jerry, the whole crew there. I've gotten to meet a lot of really great folks, a lot of folks that are here on the chat, and then work with you guys on bees, on plugs, on buckets. That's probably one of the greatest rewards is working with folks to all kind of work together, you know, so we can all kind of meet that common goal is to try to do a little better in the bee yard each year and, you know, try to make something after it. So, anyways, I'll just keep blabbing on. So Don, everyone else who listens, really appreciate all your guys' support. We really can't do it without you. Maybe another time we'll talk about all the things going on here, but it's been an incredible year and looking forward to all the things that we can offer. For now, if you want to check out what we're doing, you can go visit us on YouTube or our website or Facebook at nature'simagefarm.com. And just want to thank everyone again for everything. Really appreciate you guys. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, Greg. And last but not least, back to Nancy. Go ahead, Nancy.
Hi, this is my mom. She popped over to say hi, and I pushed her right in front of the camera. I got her for Mother's Day. I gave her a nuke, and she a 5-frame nuke, and she's been doing it. She stacked it 1, 2, and then a medium, and then she has another deep on top. So, but lately on my website, there's video of her working with the bees from spring until like July.
About a month ago. Yeah.
About a month ago. Didn't have to wear no protection. First year having bees, and she was even tapping on them, moving them around on the video. But now she's getting stung. And so what's going on with her bees?
She might have a critter underneath the hive or something. But stinging is good for us old people. You know, I'm pushing 80. If I don't get stung, you know, November, December, by, you know, February, my fingers get, you know, stiff. So that's the first thing as old people you understand and you realize bee stings gets that natural cortisone flowing in your body, and your arthritis doesn't hurt that.
Okay.
I mean, it's a good thing. I mean, but you know, if your bees have not stung you when you're working them without a veil and that, and now they are, look under the hive. You probably have a critter or something that's agitating them. Check the front of the hive to see if you got any scratch marks. You might have a skunk out there at night agitating the bees. Something could be agitating them. Or go through the whole hive and make sure it's queen right.
Okay, we do have problems with a lot of squirrels around. So would they agitate the bees?
Squirrels don't usually bother bees. They're monotonous. If you got like bucket feeders, they jump from hive to hive. They'll knock the buckets over. They'll leave the nuts up on top of the hive. You know, but they don't normally get the bees upset. Usually where we're at here, it's lizards, the geckos. Sometimes a snake will get around there.
Yeah. Normally I don't have anything. I'm in town and I haven't seen snakes for years. But we have in the past caught raccoons and possums.
Now, those two things there will scratch the box. The possum will sit there and eat bees.
Well, I
Another
haven't,
thing you might want to try to do is rub a little bit of liquid smoke on your hands, and if you can
well, I
tolerate
do,
it.
yeah, I do that. But it seems like they even stung in through, I wore a jacket today, you know, with the top with over the belt, and they even are stinging through the jacket.
Sounds like you could have a hive that got queenless.
I'll check your box tomorrow and we'll see what's
Okay.
going on.
I have never, Nancy has shown me a bee in there, but a queen, but I have never been able to spot one myself. But
She'll
there
put a
is,
dot. She can put a dot on there for you so you can see it.
No, I'm not gonna put that on there.
No, we
Well,
got
that's
a,
okay.
there's a color code that they use for marking queens to tell what year it is. And I have several older guys that they want them marked. But the majority of the time of people, I tell them that they're going to chew that paint off.
yeah, that's okay. I did notice today something I hadn't noticed before in the past. On the top of the 2 boxes, after I took off the top box and then the half box, when I got down to the 2 boxes, it was solid bees on the top of that second box, just solid. And they never moved aside or anything. So I smoked them to get them off the top there so I could move the frames. But I've never seen that many bees on top before.
Well, they're moving, they might be moving honey up. Another thing too is, you remember when you have babies, how you check the baby bottle?
Yeah.
Take the smoker and smoke your wrist. It should feel cold. If you feel much heat at all, your smoker is way too hot. That'll get your bees a little angry too.
Okay, well, after I smoked them, they were better. I'll put it that way. So, but it was before I smoked them. I've never smoked before. I've
Yeah.
never had to smoke before to handle the bees. But Nancy had mentioned, she said, well, did you use your smoker, Mom? And I said, no. And so today, when they started, they would just come swarming around my,
Sometimes when there's a dearth starts where there's no honey at all coming in, they get a little more agitated.
well, they're making honey, but okay. I don't know what the problem is. I'll have to figure it out.
Okay.
We'll
What-
figure it out together tomorrow.
What's the weather like there?
It's getting,
Oh.
well, it's real hot in the day, but our evenings are getting cooler. We're getting down into the 50s at night now.
You're probably getting yellow jackets and everything trying to rob those hives out, which is why they're getting cranky. Because it sounds like you've got similar weather to what I'm getting right now. And this is the time of year all my girls get cranky because they have to defend the hive a lot more.
That's,
Okay.
it's possible. I don't, yeah.
So does the bees even protect their honey? Will they
Oh, yeah.
get angry if they're protecting their honey? Yeah. So
Yeah.
I was thinking that maybe they were just guarding their honey.
Keep an eye on the hives. Just sit back and watch the hives. See if you have yellow jackets or hornets or something trying to come in there and get them.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, you're welcome.
And Pat, do you have something to add?
Yeah, I would just like to remind everybody that you should have an EpiPen in your bucket of tools in the bee yard with you at all times. And I know everybody has a different opinion, but my mentor was 94 and had never had a reaction. And we went to get bees out of a tree and he had to use my EpiPen. So I strongly encourage you to have one, especially if you're out in a out yard working and you're far from home, far from help. That EpiPen could save your life. So please think about getting one. And that's all.
Okay. All right, then I think that's it for tonight. If anybody wants to stick around for the after chat, we'll do that again. So thank you, Don. Thank you, everyone. We will see you in 2 weeks.
And get those questions ready.
Good night, everyone.
No,
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.